Hi guys, welcome back. Okay, so this is a continuation of the last video. I'll be showing you how to make an inner for this kind of purse. So it's exactly the same process I used in making the other bag that I used in making this one. I just made this one because I already made the bag and I had to make something else so I can show you the inner. So what to basically do, you have to measure the length and the width. So as you can see, I have 3 inches for the length and I have 6 inches here for the width, right? So I'm going to be using that measurement to cut your fabrics. So yeah, we're going to cut it. I did 4 inches because I had 1 inch for seam allowance, right? And 7 inches, again 1 inch for seam allowance. Okay, so we're going to be cutting out 4 pieces of your fabric. You need to cut out 4 pieces, right? Fabric, as you can see. You also be needing a zipper. Okay, so you can see this whole video is a mismatch, right? I just made this bag for the purpose of this video. I'm still going to lose it, and so I'm using different fabric, different zipper for it. If you are doing yours, please use a matching fabric. If you watch the other video, you can see that I used a pink zip and a pink inner to match with my bag, right? So this is just for the purpose of this video. I'm not using it to do anything. So for you to sew your zipper, I want to make the purse now, the inner purse. So you're going to pick your fabric right side. You're going to lay your zipper on it, making sure they are on the same, like they're equal, on the same length. Then you're going to carry a second fabric and place on it right side facing each other. Just like that. If any zipper you're using, make sure it's a little bit longer than the fabric. Okay, so it will be easier for you to sew. So I'm just going to pin that down. Once that is done, I'm going to go to my sewing machine. I'm going to run a stitch. You can as well use your hand if you don't have a sewing machine to do this part. Okay, I've done my stitches now. I use a different thread as well, so you can just see what I'm doing clearly. But if you are doing yours, please use a matching fabric and a matching thread, a matching zipper, a matching everything, please. You don't want to give your bag to your clients looking like a non-professional. So as you can see, I just flipped my fabric and my zipper to the right side, putting both fabrics on the same side. So I'm going to run a top stitch on it like this. Yeah, so I've done my top stitch. Then I'm going to do the same for the other side as well. So I'm just going to lay my fabric down, let the right side be facing up, right? I'll put my zipper on it like this, then I'll put the other fabric on it. So the purpose of cutting 4 fabrics is that 2 will serve as a lining, while 2 will serve as your main fabric. So I'm going to put the other side on it, right side facing each other, please. So I'll just pin that down and run a stitch on it, and also run my top stitch on it as well. Yeah, just run a stitch and also do my top stitch together. Okay, so I've done that now. My zip decided to just spoil at this point, but I'm like, I'm not going to lose this thing because after I'm not using it, I'm just going to continue like that. So if you are using a hand stitch for this top stitch part, you can just get this hemming gum. Just walk into any tailoring store where they sell tailoring things and tell them you want to buy hemming gum. So you can just place the hemming gum after you stitch the first stitch. Before you do your, obviously you're not going to do your top stitch because it's going to look rough if you're using your hand to do your top stitch. So you can just place this hemming gum in between the fabrics and iron it. It will just lay everything flat. Using for this top stitch so that your work will be flat both front and back, and it's easy for you to work with. So I'm just going to pick it up the way I just did now. The 2 fabrics that are up, I'll put them together while the ones that are down, I'll put them together. The video is very explanatory, so you can just see what I'm doing. So we're going to run a stitch all around. Okay, so you have to determine which one is your lining and which one is your main fabric. For me, the one I'm marking there is my lining. Okay, that will serve as my lining. So what you want to do is you want to make sure your zip is open. Forget about that part that is spots. You want to make sure that your zip is open before you do this process. Make sure it's open to an extent. Do not zip the whole thing completely. So I'm just showing you that, okay, I left it open to an extent. Then I'll pick those two fabrics again, the one up together and the one down together. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're going to push the teeth of your zip towards the lining, like I'm doing. Like the teeth should be facing the lining. Can you see? I'm trying to push the teeth of my zip towards the lining. I'm just going to pin that down. I'll do the same thing for the other side as well, and pin it down. Then I'll go ahead to sew 1/2 inch all around. So on the lining part, I'm just going to mark like 2.5 inches in the middle. I'm going to be leaving that part unsewn. I'm not going to sew that part. Just it can be at the edge, it can be at the middle, anywhere. Just make sure that you leave a space in the lining. Do not sew that part, okay? Because you're going to use that part to turn your purse. So I'm just going to mark 1/2 inch, okay, like this. And I'm going to start sewing from that point. I want double stitch that part, sorry. So I'm just going to sew all around the way I just showed you with my hand. So that's what I've done now. You can see I started from that edge. I did 1/2 inch all around. I left that middle part unsewn. So we're just going to be trimming our zipper to fit our fabric, okay? Always make sure it's long so that when you are sewing, you don't sew on that iron, because that will break your needle. If you're using a hand stitch, that's fine as well. So I'm just going to trim my zip to be equal with my fabric, okay? Then I'm going to notch the edges of, okay, the fabric. But first of all, I'm measuring it, so you can see that I have 6 inches, and I'm going to measure from the teeth of the zip, and I have 3 inches, which is the exact measurement we took at first when we first started the video, right? I'm just going to notch those edges. So I'm going to flip my purse inside out now. This is the reason why you have to leave a space in your zip, because you need it to turn it to the right side. Assuming the zip was closed, you wouldn't have been able to turn it to the right side at this point. So I'm just going to use my scissors to push out those pointy edges. So before I close in that inner part, I'm just going to fit the purse into my bag and make sure that it's the same size and it's equal before I close it. So as you can see, everything fits perfectly. Okay. And the zip decided to work at this point. Hallelujah. So we're just going to go ahead and close the inner parts of the purse. So the best thing I recommend while trying to close this part is to either you do an invisible stitch with your needle and your thread, or you use your hemming gum and just place the hemming gum in between it, arrange it properly, and just iron it. That will look more seamless and more professional than using a sewing machine to stitch it. So you can either do this, make sure you arrange it properly and just iron it, or you use your needle and thread and just do an invisible stitch. Well, I'm just going to use my sewing machine to just sew it because I am not using this. That's easy for me. Okay, once we are done now, so it's time for us to attach the purse to the bag. I'm just going to take my needle and my fishing line. I'm using a 0.35 mm fishing line. So I've inserted my thread into my needle now. So I'm just going to be starting from the inside of the purse so that my knot can be inside of the purse. So what you're just going to do is you pass your needle through your purse. Once it's out, you pass it through a bead, the round beads that are up there. That's what we're going to be using. So you just pass it through the bead, then pass it through the purse again. So I'm not going to be sewing on that top stitch. Okay, I'll pass it out again through the purse, through the bead, through the purse again. So I'm just going to be repeating the same process until I'm done. When you're working with fishing line, please be careful because it tangles a lot. I'm going to pass it through the next bead now. Now pass it into my purse again. Please pull tightly so that the fishing line can be very tight, but don't pull it too tight so your fishing line will not come and snap. So when I'm trying to pass it out from my purse, I always make sure that I pass it very close to the last one I did so that I won't have like a stitch sign showing there. It's just be like a dot. So when you look inside the purse, you won't really see where the stitches are made. Passing it through the next bead as well. So it's practically the same process, yeah. Pass it through the purse, through the bead, through the purse again until you are done. Just make sure that your stitches are tight and they are firm. Please, if you're watching the video up to this point, please don't forget to like the video, give it a thumbs up so the algorithm can share it to other people who would like to see it. Please also subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much. So just know that whatever size your bag is, whether it is big or it is small, it is 20 inches, 100 inches large, it is basically the same process, okay? The same process, exactly the same. There's nothing different about it. The only difference is that you have to increase the inches when you're cutting out your fabric, okay? So I'll just let you watch the video and just see the process until I'm done. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thank you so much.